What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to your favorite pond, the Coy Pond, episode 115. As you guys can see, it's going to be a remote episode this week. Had a few things come up, but nevertheless, the show must go on. We're also joined once again by he's my friend, he's your friend. It's our stand-in Cowboys fan, Matt, back for another glorious week of championship football. Matt, say hello to the people.
Hello. How's it going?
There we go. As you guys know, you can find us on Spotify, here on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and don't forget to leave a question on SpeakPipe. You know what? Even if it's a little late, it still counts. We'll still get to it. It'll be featured on the podcast. You guys all know. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And, I don't think there's much left to be said. We got 2 games this week. It's down to the last 3 days of football, which is, quite frankly, the saddest part of the year, but 3 of the best games we should get, technically. Who knows if we really will? Obviously, everyone knows there's been some injuries, some problems, yada, yada, yada. Why not get right into the AFC Championship? Patriots travel to Denver, take on the Broncos Sunday at 3 o'clock, over under 42.5, and currently the Broncos are dogs at 5.5. This should be interesting. Out of the gate, everyone already knows this. Stidham will be starting for the Broncos this week. Plenty of conspiracy theories about how much Sean Payton likes this guy. But still, to get your first start in an AFC Championship game is a bit daunting against a Patriots defense that has only stepped up more and more in the playoffs so far against both the Chargers and the Texans. This should be interesting, especially considering the fact that Pat Bryant and Troy Franklin might be questionable, or they are questionable. We'll see how bad the injuries are, but right now it's questionable, so I don't even want to, put out in the universe what might come of that. You might be a little Jordan Humphrey, Mims, and Sutton, which... Bo Nix made them all 3 look pretty good last week. Sutton got involved later in the game. But very, very interesting. I think everyone's thinking, Patriots not dominated, but took care of the Chargers. Dominated the Texans, it felt like. And now here they go playing the Broncos with a injured quarterback 1. Backup wide receivers potentially that, have as much experience. But, without Troy Franklin and Pat Bryant, that's something to be said. And they traveled to Denver. But I have to say, the first 2 games for them in the playoffs have been in New England. And now they travel, maybe not across the entire country, but they travel to Denver, which has had an electric playoff atmosphere up until this point. Sean Payton got him yelling on the right downs in the huddle to try and confuse the Bills, which, that game went the way it went. But it should be interesting. I'm very excited for this game. Matt, out of the gate, what jumps out to you about this and who you may or may not be leaning towards?
I think I'm leaning towards Patriots. I think,
Okay.
Patriots already played 2 good defenses. As you said, they're a little lackluster. Drake May did kind of fumble the ball there a few times. So if he holds on to that, that'd be ideal, obviously, for the Patriots. But
Right.
I just think the Patriots are fully healthy. They have a lot more hype, excitement, more momentum, I'd say, after the big injury to Bo, injuries to wide receivers, as you mentioned. I feel like everything's leaning on Patriots outside of the home field. But who knows? The Broncos are as well another top 3 defense potentially. So I feel like it's similar to the Texans, similar to the Chargers on the defense. It really depends on how the offense of the Patriots move.
And it's hard to judge it because it's like, what you're getting with the Patriots. You kind of knew what the Texans would look like. Lord knows everyone could have guessed how Justin Herbert performed. Hashtag Greg Roman's a Nazi. It's one of those things now where you try and figure out who the Broncos are. And I would say they have a much better offensive line than the Chargers and Texans. So you can rule that out immediately, probably for the amount of pressures they can get. But now you have Stidham back there. And no slight to Stidham, but he hasn't started a game in 2 years.
I don't even know if he's had in 3 years, I don't think.
Hasn't had to throw a ball. So not really a slight to them, but it's going to be interesting. We've had these moments in the past in the NFL where backups have come out and balled. I mean, we might have a Nick Foles situation where it's a little later in the postseason, but it could happen. But it also could not happen. It could be the Patriots lock down the running game. Stidham can't seem to get anything started, and the whole thing falls apart, and we're talking about how the Patriots routed the Broncos in a week. But I think the Broncos have a good enough defense, similar to the Patriots, where they don't need to necessarily lean on their offense scoring an ungodly amount of points. It felt like Josh Allen had to keep scoring to keep the Bills in the game because the Bills couldn't stop Bo Nix. And now it's feeling more like what this is going to be is a defensive battle that I don't think is going to be too impacted by that crazy snowstorm we're getting. I think Colorado is generally out of that zone. But here we go where it's two pretty good defenses taking on each other, and it's going to be a defensive battle if the Broncos want to win it. Now, if the Patriots are able to use Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson as much as they have been in the playoffs, this game could get away from the Broncos quick. But with that defense, man, they were playing well against the Bills, aside from a couple plays. And in home field advantage, I don't know if this is going to be the 7-point game or if this is going to be the 3-point game. And obviously, that's fucking how you pick the spread at this point because it's a 5.5. But I'm leaning towards the Broncos a little bit. The irony is both of these teams were the tweet I put out where no team has ever won their first playoff game except for when there was two teams in this situation playing each other that had a strength of victory lower than a 0.4. And I put that out, and I was like, yeah, no way the Patriots or Broncos will win it. And here they are in the AFC Championship game, so what the hell do I know? But I really like the idea of Stidham. We'll see if I like Stidham or not.
Can't game plan for someone with no footage.
It's true. It's so true. And, I don't know how much that really affects the Patriots because they've been playing unbelievable on defense. But in my head, I'm like, okay. And J.K. Dobbins might be back. He was limited in practice. It'd be crazy to see him come back to probably just get himself hurt again. But the Broncos been able to run the ball just fine with Harvey and, was it McLaughlin?
Yes.
Or do I have that name right?
Yep, McLaughlin.
Yeah. But they've been running the ball fine. Of course, New England's ranked 5th in rushing yards per game, so that'll be interesting to see. But I think this might be a boring game. I think we might be in for some hard-nosed football.
It's a race to 17 points. Whoever gets that 17 first, I think, is going to be there. Maybe 20, but I agree. I don't think it's going to be very high scoring.
No, but I'm excited. I'm excited for this game. I think the Broncos can do it. New England, 3-1 against the spread as road favorites. Denver, 3-0 against the spread as home dogs. Denver's defense getting sacks. That's going to be something to watch. Patriots might have a tackle on the line, but I think Will Campbell's going to be in his spot for him anyway, so it's not really a huge loss if he's not able to play this game. Patriots' offensive line has not looked crazy good. I think Will Campbell's still trying to find his footing a little bit based on the last two games. But the Broncos' sack leaders on defense, that might play a role in this. If Broncos' defense can keep him in it, which I think they can, again, like you said, Matt, we're going to have the race to 17 points, and whoever gets there first probably ends up winning this game 17-14. But because it's going to be a low-scoring game, in my opinion, whether I don't think should impact him on Sunday, whether the fucking forecast changes all the time. I'm not going to act like that's going to be the decider here. But with a playoff home crowd, I really like Denver plus 5.5. And if you're a little whatever about it, maybe even Denver plus 7.5. I think this game won't get without a touchdown for too long. This might be Patriots go up 10-0, Stidham finds his footing. Maybe they can use R.J. Harvey to get a touchdown or Ingram or something like that. I'm not quite sure. But I really like Denver plus 5.5 here. Matt, I'll let you do your pick.
I like the Denver plus 7.5. I did think the Patriots win it, though. I don't think 5.5. That's a little too scary for me.
5.5. Get your rockers going just a little bit.
Yeah,
I think the playoff home crowd's enough. But that's only because New England's played only home games so far. And that carries a lot when you've got that home stadium.
Yeah.
This time, everyone's going to be rooting against your ass for several minutes. The entire game, clearly. But I'm excited. This should be a good game. Stidham, I'm hoping, there's the same chance that he has a goose egg. I don't think so because he's been in the league so long. He's supposed to be the golden goose after Tom Brady. Didn't work out. Goes with Sean Payton to Denver. We'll see. I might be hyping Stidham up too much. I think I love the idea of Stidham just because it could be another Nick Foles situation.
Should have let me go.
Yeah, exactly. A little personal animosity. I don't know. It's something to think about here. And, Hunter Henry used to be a Charger. Maybe he hates the Broncos. Obviously, he's been a great fucking weapon for Drake May. I don't know. I like Denver. You like New England. On to the next game. If I can click the right button. NFC Championship. Sunday at 6:30. Over under 46.5. Seattle. Favored by 2.5. Here comes Matthew Stafford. Coming down the train. Just got done executing the Iceman. And now he's going for the oblique injured man, Sam Darnold. Traveling to Seattle. Stafford's looked pretty good against the Seahawks this year. Now, That being said, that Seattle defense has been massacring teams for fun.
Yeah.
Was that 41-6? I mean, that game got so out of hand for the 49ers, given they've had their own battles with injury this season. But a divisional game that I like Seattle in, but they just rolled them. Just rolled them for fun. I mean, that was unfortunate, to say the least. For
Picking the
Brock
Niners was a little bit of a miss there, but
hey, I wasn't going to out you.
so
However, now we get a second round at a divisional NFC West matchup. Stafford traveling to Seattle. I think we're all wondering if Sam Darnold pumpkins. Does he pumpkin somewhere in here? He's 1-3 against the Rams since 2024. Obviously, that's when he was on the Vikings included. Sam Darnold. It would be an awesome story to hear about how bad it went with the Jets and how the Vikings did better, and then he made it there with the Seattle defense. But that Seattle defense can pretty much carry a team, regardless of who's on offense. Now, Seattle lost Zach Charbonnet for the season, clearly. I think he tore his Achilles is what the injury was. They only have Kenneth Walker now, promoted another running back to the starting squad. Kenneth Walker is still a great running back. And you still have Njigba, wide receiver, Barner is tight end. You still have Cooper Kupp, who made more appearances. It'd be interesting to see if he gets too involved in this game against the Rams. Rams, healthy bunch. Made it a little closer than I like to admit against the Bears. But also, you have to assume that the home stadium in the environment they were in, the weather, is what I'm trying to say, affected that just a tiny bit. And, Matthew Stafford's getting a little older. I wouldn't blame him if he hates playing in the cold these days by comparison. But now, here you go, traveling up to cold, rainy Seattle in the NFC Championship game. And like I said last time, the Seattle's always going to milk the amount of noise and the amount of rumblings that home crowd can generate. They had the stupid, was it seismic meters or whatever measures the earthquakes. They had them all around the stadium. I have no idea what that ended up looking like by the end of the game. But it is a real factor. That crew loves screaming for their Seahawks.
I believe it was the top 5 loudest pop of all time when Rashid Shaheed ran it in off the kickoff. I believe this was one of the top 5 loudest pops.
I was about to place that fucking plus 10,000 for it to be ran out too. YouTube, or whoever's listening to the podcast, quick backstory. Every week in the primetime games, I put $1 or $2 on the opening kickoff to be returned for a touchdown. We were making a homie parlay. I went to click it. It locked as soon as I clicked it to place the bet, and he runs it back. I'm still hurting from that one, but life will move on. We'll have to do it for the last 3 games, lose $9 total. But yeah, regardless, Seattle 5-3 against the spread as home favorites. Rams 1-1 against the spread as road dogs. I think, honest to God, Seattle's defense has enough that they don't even need a quarterback. I think it could be William and Drew Lock potentially, which is, I guess, potentially because of the bleak injury on Sam Darnold, and everything would work out. Only thing Sam Darnold can't do is throw 17 pick sixes, in my opinion, and Mike McDonald will be able to game plan for this. Now, both of these teams see plenty of each other in the regular season. I have to wonder what Sean McVay or their OC is scheming up to get around that Seattle defense. I don't know what to expect. Points per game allowed this season, Seattle's number 1, allowing only 16.6 in the regular and postseason games. I'm the only reason I love the Seattle minus 2.5 is for the just defense. That defense has been unbelievable. They have given no reason to think, in my opinion, that they won't be able to do the same thing to Stafford here at home. But, Matt, I will hear you out for a case on maybe why Sam Darnold could pumpkin just hard enough.
Well, the Rams have the number 1 passing offense, and Seattle's number 1 passing defense. So that's a big battle there. But I don't know. I've never been high on Sam Darnold. I said it last week about Caleb Williams, where I can't only hate him for so long, and he keeps proving me wrong. He still had that good game, or kind of good game, last week against the Rams. Sam Darnold is known for not playing in big moments. With Charbonnet being out, he's going to have to throw the ball more, which kind of scares me a little bit there.
I agree. I would agree with that.
I still think the Rams offense is still going to be able to beat down the Seahawks defense better than the majority of these other teams. So I'm leaning the Rams here. I think Stafford, McVay, that combination, especially in these big games, just have more experience. They're more calm, cool, collected. I think Sam Darnold, biggest game he's ever played in. There's a lot going on. He went 14-3 last year. He
No,
did good this year. He's great in the regular season. He's done great in the postseason, but he hasn't had to do great in the postseason. He hasn't had the game on his shoulders yet. I feel like the Rams keep him in there and make Sam Darnold play and throw that ball. I think the Rams win it.
I could see it. I'm actively checking to see if there'll be any weather on Sunday. No,
Yeah.
no
But yeah,
precipitation. It'll just be a little cold.
the
So,
defense has carried him where he's been able to play safe, throw the ball, throw the
mhm.
handoff. Like he hasn't had to
Special
really
teams
take
too.
the game in his hands. And if the Rams can make him do that, I think then the Rams can win.
I would agree.
But
And Don Shula for the Rams will make that happen or do his best. I mean, they're pretty healthy on defense, and that Rams defense has looked good. I still can't believe Caleb Williams threw that ball to Cole Kmet, and it worked. That was an insane play to do,
that
and he's done
looked
that same
fake.
throw.
The
That's
safety was
being
running the
NFL.
opposite direction.
Yeah, that was insane. But I it's gonna bite me in the ass this week. It bit you in the ass last week. It's gonna bite me in the ass this week for wanting Seattle and picking Seattle. But I just think Mike McDonald's figured out a way to get this team rolling with Sam Darnold just doing the least. I agree that if the Rams defense just stops the run and makes him throw the ball, it's going to be a problem. But I also think the Seahawks could score 3 touchdowns on their defense,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't even be an issue. I don't remember Matthew Stafford having too many problems this season, but obviously Devontae Adams has had a lingering injury. Puka's been good, but it seems like they weren't able to get him going against the Bears, who gave up the most passing touchdowns this season. And they got Blake Corum involved late in the game after they kind of had it, but Kyron Williams has been good too. These are two great teams. I really think this could go either way. I'm going to pick Seattle -2.5 just because that defense has been crazy. It's like the Rams last year. I was picking the Rams just solely based off defense, if anything else. And this year it feels like that's what the Seahawks have done. So I'm going to go with the Seahawks.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Rams, but I don't know. I don't see any team coming out of the AFC beating either of these teams. I think one of these two teams are winning the Super Bowl. I don't
Yeah.
think it's
Now,
gonna be close either.
if there was a
Unfortunately.
bet to pick the winner of the Super Bowl based off conference alone, I would lean NFC as well. The thing about it too is the NFC West is the championship, right? And the game is going to be at Levi Stadium, somewhere both these teams are familiar with playing, let alone the same side of the country.
Yeah.
Now you have the Broncos Patriots on the AFC, and yeah, sure, it's Patriots have to travel all the way out there, whatever. I'm just for familiarity's sake, both of these teams are way more familiar with that stadium than Patriots or the Broncos. And I mean, can you imagine if the Broncos were able to do with Stidham, and that's a Rams or Seahawks versus the Broncos?
That's what I'm saying.
That
Like,
would have to be
the
that would be a
Patriots
defensive
defense.
battle.
Yeah, the Patriots defense, though, I don't think is anywhere
Well,
near
all of them.
Seahawks defense. So,
It doesn't
like,
feel that way.
a backup quarterback winning 2 games against 2 really good defenses, that'd
Yeah,
be incredible. But it's
it
very
would be.
highly unlikely, I feel like. And then Drake May being so young, not having the playoff experience, hasn't stopped him yet, but he's had some weaker points. I don't. And then Sean McVay and Stafford's already been there and won a Super Bowl. So I just think it comes down to experience for the Rams and the defense on the Seahawks if whoever
I,
team plays in the Super Bowl.
I agree. See, I agree. Experience goes a long way, especially for the Rams, and the Seahawks is looking amazing. It's crazy, and I'm interested to see how the Patriots do against the Broncos on the road. Not to say I think that the easy schedule has catapulted them, but they also played the Chargers and the Texans, which might be a little bit cope on my part. I recognize that, but both of those offensive lines were known to be ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stroud looked like he was shaking against the Steelers. He went into New England and threw 4 picks, and people were curious that he was going to be benched at halftime. Chargers couldn't get anything going from the get-go, and they decimated Herbert. I mean, none of this is unknown or false. It's just I'm very curious to see how the Patriots then do
Against the
on defense
Broncos.
against
Yeah.
Broncos, who now also have a backup quarterback going in. So there's another excuse going into the Super Bowl. Not that they wouldn't deserve it. They won all those games. They got here. It's, fucking great for them. But then to see them match up potentially against one of these NFC teams that are, I would argue, complete by comparison, barring any other injuries that might happen this week, it's gonna be an interesting fucking game. But I digress. You're on Patriots, Rams. I'm on Seahawks,
Rockies.
Broncos.
Oh, other question
All
for
right.
you. Is Pat Surtain healthy? Because I
Pat,
called
I
it
think,
last week and he was technically healthy and then
yeah.
he was injured for most of the game. And that's
Well,
one thing
Pat's,
that continuously happens with him. Almost every other game, he at least goes out for a quarter or so just because he keeps getting hurt in the game. And that's always a
Yeah.
big dagger to the Broncos defense.
No, I agree. And, I'm trying to see right now what it has him on ESPN. I don't think it says anything negative currently, but he did go out. He did go out in that game versus the Bills. And if he continues to go out, that's going to be a big problem for the Broncos defense as a whole if they can't get to the quarterback. That is true, though. Pat Surtain has had an interesting injury bug where everyone wants him to play in the big game, but he keeps knocking himself out, whatever injury that might be. I don't know off the top of my head.
I feel like there's something there that's lingering and bothering him, but they're not putting it on the sheet for some reason because it's continuously popping up.
No, I agree. And for what it's worth, it's probably him saying he's still healthy and wants to play in these games, which he totally should. And then it just gets re-aggravated. And I don't think there's anything anybody can do about that except for him, other than just announce it. Maybe I don't know how any of that works, but that is a good point. Is Patriots, Demario Douglas. You've had not Matt Collins, but a couple of those other guys having great games, and they might continue to have great games, especially Pat Surtain goes out in the first quarter of that game.
Yeah,
it should be interesting. I definitely think the NFC team is going to win the Super Bowl this year. I obviously don't know right now who that's going to be between these two, but I think one of these two teams is going to end up being the Super Bowl winner.
I agree.
And it's probably going to be a heavier set of a heavier spread or money line in their favor. I think someone already put out, they have the hypothetical odds on all the sports books about what the matchup would be. Here are the odds we'd announce. Might be interested to go look at that and see if you can get something at a discount if it's early. We'll see. I hope we get 2 great games. I think we will. I think the Broncos Patriots game might be boring. I think you might get something more exciting in this Rams Seahawks game. If we're lucky, obviously that's how the over-under dictates it going at the moment. And we'll go from there. In the meantime, so that we don't cut the podcast exactly in half of what the usual time length is, talk a little current events, NFL, why not? Keep it rolling. Got a little bit of a coaching carousel going on. Obviously, since last week, Sean McDermott got let go. How did you feel about that, Matt?
I thought that was a horrible decision.
You did?
Yeah. I mean, he has almost a 74% win rate. He's been playing well. He isn't the one fumbling the ball. He isn't the one he's not the one making these decisions. They're winning. He's a good coach, and I still think they give him any wide receiver options that would actually stand out. Now, and, I mean, that might be partly on him, but I still feel like yes, there's some hit or miss play calling, but I feel like he laid it out pretty well consistently.
I would agree with that. Now, could you argue because it came out yesterday, whenever you guys watched the podcast earlier this week, Keon Coleman. It got found out that it wasn't a GM favorite and it wasn't an owner, or the owner said it wasn't the GM's favorite pick, but the coaching staff wanted him, right? Is that what you heard too?
Yeah, they're blaming McVay for getting him and calling him a bust. Yeah.
Yeah, so he tried to get him wide receivers, and the draft is the draft. You don't know exactly who you're getting until it's like the end of the first season of their rookie season. But he tried to get some wide receivers, and I saw a lot of arguments for doing the same thing over and over again is considered insanity. But there was an effort to find Josh Allen another wide receiver one that was clear. It didn't work out, and it is interesting because I would assume, and this, Bills fans, hit the comments, let me know, I'll take it on the shins. My opinion was they've went 8-8 in the playoffs. They've gotten close. They've never done it. At some point, it's not good enough anymore. If you've got this team that's clearly still great, a defense that just can't get the correct amount of stops, a Josh Allen that always has some controversial play, some controversial moment in the game, and you just can't get over that hump for some reason. And I don't blame him, but I don't blame him for firing McDermott because I don't think that's the craziest move to do after all these seasons of not being able to get over the hump for the Bills hump, I would say. But now I'm curious, who do they hire to take that spot?
That's my
because
thought.
Now
they waited. I mean, obviously they waited because they're in the playoffs, but the 2 or 3 best coaching hires are already gone. There's no one better, I think, than your guy that you already have. At least wait one more season or get those conversations earlier behind closed doors. I think that's what needed to be done. But instead, they waited too long, fired their coach. Now I don't think there's anyone really better left to take over for them.
My only question would be Brian Daboll, because he didn't go out and get a new coaching position quickly. But, he was fired like late mid-season for the Giants, if I'm remembering that correctly.
Yes.
So now he's taken, it's been brought out today that he might take the job with the Titans, depending on how the conversation goes with the Bills. And Brian Daboll was pretty damn good with the Bills when he was there. So I'm wondering if their thought process was, maybe behind closed doors, they've already contacted Daboll and said, hey, we'd like you to come back potentially. What do you want, or what are the odds of you coming in for an interview? And they've felt that out. Maybe. I don't know. And, none of this shit ever comes to light between the 5 people it happened between until later. But
yeah,
I am curious who they contacted, or if this was a very in the moment, like, hey, Sean, it's another year of a controversial call that didn't go our way, and we couldn't get past game XYZ of the playoffs. And now we've just had enough of it, and we have to move on to try and find out what's going to work instead. And it's going to be interesting, because I agree, it's like, you should have had, it feels like this conversation should have been had earlier, and it probably was. But was it Daboll, or who else was it in that conversation? Because obviously you lost out on the Harbaugh, not lottery, but sweepstakes maybe is the right way to put it. If that was the number one candidate, which I would argue probably was. And then you were looking at Stefanski, Daboll, Tomlin's probably going casting is what everyone keeps saying. I guess that's what I'll roll with. Jesse Minter, he's out there, regarded as one of the top coaching candidates from the Chargers defense, which I would argue he should be number one. Total bias. But it sounds like he might be going to the Ravens, obviously, which is going to suck something fierce if that's what happens. But, at least the Ravens defense will be back at that point. He's going to be good. I'm scared of him. Did you see all the hate Stefanski was getting from Atlanta fans?
Yeah.
That was hilarious. If you didn't look at it, go find it on Twitter or TikTok or something. The amount of hate he was getting for going to Atlanta was kind of the goofiest thing I've ever seen. But, hey, you know what? That's the NFL. And, obviously today, Eric Bieniemy going back to Kansas City, that will be huge for them. I think that could potentially be something the Bears have to deal with next season. Obviously, Ben Johnson, genius, awesome vibes, brought back Caleb Williams, however you want to say it, not discrediting that at all. They had a tremendous season from where they were. But now you lose Eric Bieniemy, who, I don't know, who knows how much say he had on that Bears team. But he was a crucial part of the Kansas City Chiefs from 18 to 22, and they lost Bieniemy, and the last few years have gone pretty well for them, obviously, but this year not so much by any stretch of the imagination. And that, he was the running backs coach for the Bears this season, but now he goes back to Kansas City, which horrifies me, given they might be in prime position to get Jeremiah Love. But we will see. It's all hypotheticals until it happens. I'm just accepting the Chiefs had an off year and the Broncos took the most advantage of it. But what are you going to do? Greg Roman's gone. I wonder if he gets a job anywhere. But we will see. Let me think. Anything else here? McDaniel. I'll talk about that. Mike McDaniel hired by the Chargers to be the next offensive coordinator for them. Love that. Love that. Love that. Love that. It feels like they're just bringing in good coaching to try. And, if Greg Roman and Mike McDaniel can't figure out how to use Justin Herbert in the postseason, I'll just accept that's on Justin Herbert. But until then, we'll see what Mike McDaniel can craft up, because the offense has not looked too good the last couple years. And Herbert was hurt 2 years ago for a little bit. Last year, obviously, the tackles get hurt. We'll have to see. I'm just accepting they cannot hurt me until September now. And that's how it'll be.
Yep.
It's almost time to start mocking. We'll mock the fuck out of the draft. Lord knows Kev will be back with Kevin's, master plan mock draft that obviously hits all 32 picks in a row. No questions asked. It's very straightforward, very easy. We missed anything else, Matt?
Not off the top of my head, no.
All right. And you know what? That's going to do it for us this week. 3 more games left of NFL football. Enjoy it while you can. It's going to be gone quick. Let's hope we get a good Super Bowl, and let's see how Stidham does this week. Does Sam Darnold pumpkin hard? Is Matthew Stafford done? Did Sam Darnold get injured and Drew Lock came in? Who knows? Not rooting for injury, just curious about what might happen. And that being said, hope you all have a great rest of your week, and we will talk to you next week on the Coy Pond. Peace!